Hey there, Terry here. Just a quick announcement that if you like giving voice to depression, you might also like my new podcast, Recoverable. On it, I will be asking experts the top 10 most searched questions about different addictions and mental health conditions and therapies. Look for Recoverable wherever you get your podcasts. Hello and welcome to the Giving Voice to Depression podcast, brought to you by Recovery.com, the best place to find mental health and addiction treatment for anyone, anywhere.
Each week, we profile a guest who shares openly about their mental health journey. They share because they understand that when people don't talk about their depression or other mental health conditions, those of us who do struggle with them can feel like we're the only ones, that there's something wrong with us, and that no one understands. We understand.
I'm Terry McGuire, the creator and co-host of this podcast. You have my promise that we'll keep it real here. Depression is real, and we're not going to sugarcoat our discussions about it.
Hope is also real, and you'll get a dose of that here too. I'm Carly McCullough, a licensed social worker and educator, and Terry's daughter. We've both experienced depression and also support loved ones struggling with it. We're here to normalize talking about depression and mental health in our communities, as well as our families.
And to share real-world tested strategies that have worked for other people who have walked similar paths. Thanks for joining us. We record a couple new interviews each month and also replay some of our best ones from the archive so that newer listeners don't miss out on those.
This episode is from the early years when my Aunt Bridget was co-hosting.
Hello, Bridget.
Hi, Terry.
So we'd bet that every person aware of their depression is also aware of their mask. It's that facade, that smile, that coping mechanism we develop when we have to do something in spite of being in depression's grips. It's the phenomenon behind terms like hidden, functional, or smiling depression. And like clothes strewn on the floor, it's often one of the first things we rip off when we finally return to a place we can collapse and acknowledge that act took every bit of energy we had. A Huffington Post article on the 11 habits of people with concealed depression says, depression often goes unnoticed, unrecognized, and undiagnosed. A person with concealed depression is someone who's conditioned to deal with their inner demons in a way that doesn't make them clearly visible. The problem is, the article said, the world becomes darkest when we stop being able to understand each other.
So, is a mask a helpful thing or a hurtful thing? Or can it be both enemy and best friend at once? It allows us to go into the world without exposing what we're feeling, without being vulnerable, or without coming across as the dark, gloomy one. But it also means we're hiding our pain from everyone, including people who might empathize with us, who might also experience depression, or who might be able to help us in our darker times. Today's guest, Andrew, knows his mask well. He not only wears it, but he analyzes and writes about it. That's how we found him. In his blog, Rise Above the Ashes, he wrote, "Sometimes I need to go out and talk, to give voice to the darkness swirling around me. But I'm too afraid to ask for your time. I feel like it's a burden to you. I feel like I'm a burden to you. So I isolate. I sequester. I make and fake excuses about busyness or tiredness. I fade out. I act. I hide behind a carefully crafted persona. I wear a mask." With more on this common phenomena, here is Andrew giving his voice to depression.
Andrew was in his early 20s when he first started experiencing symptoms of depression. He wouldn't be formally diagnosed for another 20 years. So for half his life, he just knew something was going on, and that it came and went whenever it damn well pleased.
I would say 2013, 2014, I started to really struggle with suicidal thoughts, several weeks at a time, and at least twice a year. And it was kind of getting worse every time. Every bout of depression would be a little bit deeper, a little bit longer, and a little harder to climb out of. Fast forward to the summer of 2015, there was a couple things that kind of snowballed on me. And so I made a decision. I called the local crisis line, told them I needed help, that I wanted counseling. I wanted to get set up with a psychiatrist, soup to nuts, because it became very clear. It was either I make that call or that sooner or later that this illness was going to take my life.
Andrew reached out for and got the help he needed. Now his self-care is multifaceted and includes medications.
I'm on three different pills, and the current dosage level and the combination seems to be working quite well for me. Yeah, it's not ideal. I still definitely have my days, but compared to where I was a year ago and 2 years ago and 3 years ago, it's night and day.
And days beat the hell out of weeks, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. I might have moments where those suicidal thoughts come back, but I recognize them for what they are. They don't have that power over me to drag me down and, beat the crap out of me, metaphorically, of course.
They may not drag him down, but make no mistake. When you have a customer-facing job, or a family, or any other number of situations and obligations, it's quite a challenge to carry on as though the conversation or task in front of you is what you're lucky enough to be thinking about.
And there have been, smiling, throwing jokes out, interacting with the customer. In the back of my head, it's just this loop. I want to die. I want to die. I want to die. I want to die.
And that's where the mask comes in. It doesn't change a single thing that's going on inside, but it transforms the outside.
But yeah, I think it's not so much slapping on a happy face on a good day, because, everyone's got kind of good days and bad days, even within the good stretches. But it's knowing I'm not in a good place, and I still slap on the happy face and try and joke with customers and everything else. Meanwhile, this monotonous of I'm dirt. I'm surprised I haven't been fired yet. Well, if I get fired, I'm just going to die. And, this is just going on in the back of my mind while I'm dealing with customers. That's when it becomes more of a necessity. So it has helped, but I have to remember that, Andrew is still an introvert, and when he's done work, it's okay for him to go home and just crash. It's kind of a balancing act between the two.
In his blog article on this topic, which we will link to, Andrew describes that struggle this way. I wear a mask, not just a mask, not just any mask, the mask, the bane of my existence and my savior, the air in my lungs and the poison in my veins. It saves my life as it drowns my soul.
And yeah, the mask can be both. Because if you relied on the short term, it can save you. It can pull you up. But the danger, you lean on that, you rely on it long term, and that's when it turns on you. It starts to suck you down because you're living this falsehood.
Of course, everyone wears masks to some extent. Fake it till you make it,
I think it's actually two things. On the first surface level, I think everyone, and when I say everyone, I'm including normal, the average citizen, everyone puts up a good front. Mm-hmm. The filters, the staged pictures, the smiling family pictures, or the vacation, right? But everyone thinks that they're the only one who does it as much as they do, and they think everyone else's life is much more, the social media is much closer to reality than theirs. And below that, those of us who struggle with mental illness fight against not wanting to hang out with Eeyore, the mopey depressed that everyone suddenly thinks of when they hear mental illness is depression, the Eeyore. And then on top of that, you've got the fear of what will people think of me? The average everyday Joe, all they know is movies, Netflix, that sort of portrayal of mental illness.
Where you're either violent or a genius.
And probably both. And unstable and unpredictable and volatile. Yeah. So that many levels, it's no wonder that the mask is prevalent.
You said using the mask and hiding behind it also feeds it. It fuels the darkness. It makes it stronger, hungrier, and more unpredictable. So that is fascinating to me, that I've always thought of it as protective. It didn't occur to me that using it empowers it.
It does. When you're young, your bedroom's dark and you hear a scary noise. That noise is frightening because you can't see what's causing it. Well, there's two things you can do then. You can either jump up, turn on the lights, rip open the closet doors and see what's in there, or you can just throw the blankets over your head, stuff a pillow in each ear, and hope it goes away. By throwing the lights on and opening the closet doors, you can see it for what it is. And it's probably not as big as you think it is. It might be big and scary, yes, but it's not as big as you think it is. I think the biggest reason I've come as far as I have in the last 2 years is because somewhere I got the crazy idea that I'm not gonna fake it. I'm gonna look what I'm struggling with in the eyes as often and as long and as much as possible, because I don't want it to run my life, but I don't want to run from it either.
That's part of the stigma, right? Why should we have to? I mean, we wouldn't be walking around sharing fries and a burger with our friends if we had a really terrific cholesterol problem. You know, we'd have to come out and say, I really can't eat that kind of stuff because I'm on meds and, you know, I could have a stroke or a heart attack.
Exactly. And I think anyone who's dealt with a mask has felt that tension of wanting to just rip the mask off and throw it away and just be authentic and screw what the world thinks, and then retreating behind the mask again, and then pulling it down, going, no, I want to be authentic, and then putting the mask up again.
There are, 1 out of 5 of us, for God's sake. It's not like the rare, unicorn out there. That there are a lot of people walking around struggling. And
here's the scary thing that I think of when I hear that number 1 in 5. If you think about how heavily stigmatized mental health or mental illness really is, that's 1 in 5 people reporting.
Yes.
1 in 5 reported or diagnosed by professional. So what does that say for the people who don't report? What about the people who mask it or don't recognize or just try and grind through, not understanding what they're facing? And then you think about that 1 in 5 number and it drops to probably 1 in 4, I would say, maybe even 1 in 3.
And then when you hear that it's 10 years, it's a decade between you were longer, I was longer, between, when the first symptoms show and when someone actually, puts up the white flag and goes in and says to a professional, hey, something's wrong here. That's a lot of people for a lot of years walking around hurting.
And that is, again, part of the reason why I decided to do this.
It's very healing as somebody else who lives with this black dog to hear it stated so well and to just be able to feel understood. I keep saying, when you go to a doctor and you say, oh, right here, when it hurts and it's a little bit like, and you're trying to explain it and they say, oh, needles and pins. Yeah, needles and pins. So when you say that what you say in your blogs, I read it and just go, yeah, like that. It's wonderful.
And that's exactly why I do it. Part of it is therapeutic for me when I can finally give shape and give words to these thoughts that bounce around between my ears. That, writing helps me. Mm-hmm. Realizing everyone else, or a lot of other people struggle with it. If I put that out there mm-hmm. and one post changes one person's life and that's all my blog ever does, fantastic. I hate thinking that somebody else would feel as alone and low as I did, with nobody to connect to and nobody to reach out with. Even if I can't make the connection, somebody else will read something and go, holy crap, somebody else out there gets it. Mm-hmm. And gives them a bit of courage to reach out.
Because you could have done this as a journal. You could have just written it for yourself and gotten the benefits of getting it out of your head and onto paper. So I'm extremely grateful that you chose to do it as a blog and not a journal so that I could find it and call you. Anyway, is there any parting words or anything when you were thinking of talking that you thought, I really want to communicate this?
There's something about giving these shapeless thoughts in your head a physical form, whether you write a song or you sculpt something or you paint something, or for me, it's crafting words into something that makes sense. Whatever it is, to me, that has been worth it. So I would encourage your audience, even if it doesn't make sense to you, grab a pen, grab a notebook, grab your laptop, whatever. Find a way to give shape or form to the thoughts and the voices in your head, and I guarantee you it'll be helpful.
That's really interesting advice, to tap into your, creative knowledge to express it. Mm-hmm. I was really struck, Terry, while we were talking about doing an episode on masking, that I want to say conflict, I guess, because it is for me, but maybe not for everyone, of how we act at home, kind of in our private world, mm-hmm. including in our head, versus how we act in public. I mean, they can be really different personas, really different aspects of ourselves. And it can take a lot of energy, I think, to, go out and be out in the world and do what you got to do. And that retreating back home to another part of yourself in order to find balance. I just appreciated him talking about that.
Mm-hmm. I did too. And listening to him, one of the things I thought of, because I have always thought of the mask as sort of visual, was that we sort of have verbal masks. And when you say, I'm fine, just tired, I wouldn't make very good company tonight, I'm really busy with work, I understand you could also use the word excuses, but they're just another way of hiding.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I saw something on Pinterest that I thought was interesting about all this, and it said that as you speak words of empathy and compassion, I can feel the edges of my mask loosen, curling up ever so slightly.
Ooh, I love that.
Nice?
Yes, send me that, and I'll make one for our Facebook. I love that.
Yeah.
Cool. As long as we're reading. The Huffington Post article that I mentioned at the beginning, this is how it ends, and I just wanted to end this with it as well. It says, never turn away from a person who seems to be struggling. Love when it's difficult. Cry when you need to. Reach out when someone closes the door. Open your heart even if it feels terrifying to do so. If we keep forcing the bad to go unseen, the good will also go unseen.
Say that last sentence again.
If we keep forcing the bad to go unseen, the good will also go unseen.
Oh, wow.
Mm-hmm. So thank you, Andrew, for helping us see masking, as you called it, Bridget, from so many different perspectives and the ways that it is both helpful and potentially hurtful.
Well, when he said, it saves my life as it drowns my soul.
Right.
Whew.
Yeah, the guy's good with words. That was powerful.
All right.
Well, thank you for being here, Bridge. We will do our season in review next week. This is the end of season 5, or that will be the end of season 5. So it has been filled with such amazing information. I have learned so much in the past 9 episodes. So I am grateful for that and for everyone who has shared their story.
Absolutely. Me too. Bye, Terry.
Bye, hon.
We really hope that this discussion helps give some language or context to your own depression, or ideas for how to support someone else in your life living with it. We invite you to check out the hundreds of episodes in our archive and to explore both the Resource Hub and treatment options on recovery.com. Depression is too dark a road to walk alone.
We'll be back next week.